And so he said that tolerating the intolerant will lead to the downfall of Western society. And so without a strong voice supporting Israel, supporting common sense, because Israel is not one issue, it's a myriad of issues. Israel is about supporting women. Israel is open towards the LGBTQ community. Israel is about democracy. The other side of Israel is not where we want to be in the West. And so he said that tolerating the intolerant will lead to the downfall of Western society. This is where wokeness ended up. Wokeness was a great idea. Let's be careful about how we treat people. Let's be conscious about that. And it warped into something which is very dangerous, which is let's allow people who hate us to come and live amongst us and control our society and the way we think. And it's being used against us in a very dangerous way. It's something that I'm scared about because I think about my child, my wife, and the future.
Today on The Neil Kummer Show, I sit down with Dory Benami, an Israeli-American and Democratic candidate for Congress in California, to talk about his mission to restore a confident pro-Israel voice in the Democratic Party. We discuss the rise of anti-Semitism, the moral crossroads facing American politics, and how Jewish and American values intertwine in an age of polarization. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a quick comment to help us keep the conversations going. So what happened? The Democrats were, when I was growing up, like all Jews and people of liberal ilk were Democrats. And then something happened. When did that happen and why did it happen?
We lost an entire generation. We lost all of Europe, it seems. We lost most of the Democratic Party, it seems. This awakening is why I decided to run for Congress. My name is Dory Benami. I'm running for Congress in the 32nd District in California. The primary is in June 2nd, 2026. And if you're listening, please go to doryforcongress.com and send me $18 or $1,800, whatever you can.
At some point, because of the tsunami, the tidal wave of anti-Semitism, especially in the area that you live in, where is the 32nd District? What does it include?
32nd District currently, and it could change after November. There's going to be an election on November 4th in New York, but also in California. In California, there's Prop 50, and that will allow the governor and a special committee of Democratic insiders the ability to cut the California map into new districts, and it might potentially get rid of a few pro-Israel Democrats in the process. So that's concerning. But as of now, the map for the 32nd Congressional District is Malibu, Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, Beverly Glen, and pretty much the entire San Fernando Valley, from Northridge and Woodland Hills to Studio City, Van Nuys, Sherman Oaks. And I'm living in Tarzana, where I'm surrounded by a bunch of Israeli contractors.
Really, yeah.
They moved there in the last 20 years. We've been there since 77.
So what hopes do you hold out for? Do you have realistic hopes or do you have fantastical hopes? Where do you consider
to get elected or to change the Democratic Party as a whole?
What I was going to say, I started to say is that tsunami of ill will in the Western world towards the Jews is pretty overwhelming. It's like remarkable, right? It's like Germany 1939. These are wealthy, well-informed people. Hollywood is exceptionally well-informed and well-heeled, and they hate Jews and Israel.
We were just in Madrid on our way over to Israel. Every block there was somebody wearing a keffiyeh, and every 2 blocks I saw a Palestinian flag outside of somebody's balcony. I saw grandmothers and children and women and men. This was on Yom Kippur. There was a big march. On a Saturday, we were just sightseeing, and all of a sudden 50,000 people. My wife quickly took off her Magen David necklace. I saw a group of people holding a sign that said, "Give Israel the red card," with the S in Israel drawn as a swastika.
Oh.
I asked them, "What about Hamas?" The guy came up at me looking to fight and said, "That's not relevant." I was with the baby and with my wife, and I knew that this is
Not a
not the fight that I wanted to have.
That's
And
right.
so I let my wife explore the crowd. My wife is from Colombia, so she wasn't very obviously Jewish. She felt safe. The crowd was there to have a good time. People were drinking beer. She saw all types. It's trendy.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
cool
Yeah.
to be on that team. I think the most popular team right now, you can say in Madrid, is the
Right.
Palestinian team
Right,
or
right.
anti-Israel.
Even though it sounds superficial, I think it's actually central, the trendiness of it. I was in Santa Cruz in '69, and we went up in my friend's MG to the demonstrations in Berkeley. And that was a place to be. The Rolling Stones were playing, and the Jefferson Airplane. I assume people had some level of depth in their thought about Vietnam. But what was clear was the trendiness and the popularity of it as a...
And the Jews were amongst those leading the civil rights
Oh, yeah,
movement,
yeah.
and nobody was carrying an Egyptian flag. We were the cool team. in
Back then, that changed
We've left the
also.
narrative, and it's time to bring it back. I think there's been an over-reliance by Israel and the pro-Israel community on well-meaning Jewish Americans. I think that when you look at my district, I'm running against a guy named Brad Sherman. He's a great guy.
He's been around a while now.
He's been there for 30 years in the Congress, and he has a great legislative record, but he follows Ilhan Omar on Instagram. And
Who does he follow?
Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman from
The
Somalia,
ALC.
or what you refer to, the squad. The squad is what. And divide and conquer is a known strategy for dividing minorities or ethno-religious groups or any kind of opposition. You want to split people up. We see it happening in politics in this country, but also in the States. And so we have a group of people in California who are very pro-Israel, and they feel that the Democratic Party has abandoned them. And so now there's a movement called Jexit, Jewish exit, from the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And I decided to do the opposite, to try to change the party from within. And so when I decided to run as a Democrat. But because I'm born in Israel, that's going to be historic. There's never been a member of Congress who was born in Israel. Although I spent the majority of my life as American, I see the world and Israel through American eyes. My connection to Israel is not theoretical. I have a deep connection. During the 12-day war with Iran, my aunt was in her miklat, and I was getting messages in real time about their safety. So they live in Neve Monosson, which is really close to the airport, and that was one of the targets.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's can't let others do our job. So I think that if there's a Palestinian congresswoman from Michigan, there needs to be an Israeli congressman from the San Fernando Valley. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Good luck to you. That's quite a challenge. There are some Hollywooders and people out there who are still pro-Jewish, pro-Israel. And it used to be, I guess it still is. I went to a school that had some movie-type people in it, the Wicks, and there was like a lot of them had fathers who were Jewish.
Yes.
And Tony Curtis was Jewish, yeah. Did you meet Jamie? Are you in touch with her?
I don't know where Jamie's at, but I did meet Tony Curtis at the
Yeah.
end of his life. He was very charming in the 1990s. I went to a school that was very Hollywood. I went to the Buckley School in Sherman Oaks. We had the Reagans, the Disneys, Paris Hilton for a while. I was in a class with Rashida Jones, whose father is Quincy Jones, and her mother is Peggy Limpton. Alyssa Milano was in my computer class. So yeah, a lot of Hollywood.
Yeah.
The school's changed, and recently there is an ongoing controversy at the school. The baseball coach at the school is married to a woman named Anna Kasparian.
Kasparian, yeah.
Anna Kasparian.
Uh-huh.
And Anna Kasparian
Yeah.
is a anchor on a network called the Young Turks, TYT. The head of TYT is a guy named Cenk. It's interesting because she's Armenian, and she's working for...
They were treated very poorly by the
Right.
Turks. Yeah.
So she's been there for about 10 years. She started off making videos on YouTube that he would pay her like $100 a video, and the viewership has grown a tremendous amount. Earlier this year, when the school year was beginning, there's an Instagram account called Jews in School, and they put together that the baseball coach at the school is married to her and put a video of her saying, Jews are devils, Jews are demons, Israel's days are numbered. And I got a lot of phone calls. because I've been involved with the school since I graduated. I'm the founder of the Alumni Engagement Board, and I've been on the board, and I've sent a lot of people to that school. About a third of the students, about 200 families, are Jewish. The baseball team in particular has 6 or 7 players that are Jewish on the team. I thought it was ridiculous that in one room you have the coach of the baseball team deciding what Jewish kids he's going to put on the lineup for the next game, and in the other room you have his wife making videos saying that Jews are demons and devils and Israel's days are numbered. And 2 of the kids actually have Israeli parents on the team, so Jewish Israeli. And so I scheduled a meeting with the head of school. The head of school at Buckley, her father is a rabbi. And she makes it out as though she's the most Jewish of Jewish heads of school in the private school universe in LA, it's a small world, but it's a very important world in terms of how they think of themselves. I let her know that I wouldn't accept her inviting somebody into the community who looks at Israel and talks about Israel and Jews this way. And I put on tefillin in her office to be proudly and defiantly Jewish and to let the kids there know that I have their back. But the board of trustees and the school haven't taken any meaningful action as of today, October 29th. But we're still pressing. We just want the coach can continue coaching kids as long as he makes a public disavowal of his wife's statements, which are deeply hurtful and dangerous. People have been killed in the United States because of these kinds of anti-Semitic remarks and anti-Israel remarks.
In the Valley, too.
On a daily basis, this woman, Anna Kasparian, she says that Dr. Miriam Adelson is a pro-genocidal Zionist, and then she gaslit the entire Jewish community at Buckley who tried to take action or were upset about this by calling the Jewish parents at the school pro-genocidal Zionists. So I'm looking for somebody to take her on and to take on these people with litigation. Because
that's hopeful.
Obviously this is not my main fight. I need to get elected and work to fix the homeless problem and the crime issue in Los Angeles. But this is where I went to school. This is how deep anti-Semitism has become commonplace, accepted, and rewarded. I talked to board members who I've known for the entire 33 years that I've been affiliated with the school. I said, what if she was married to a KKK member? Would you have taken action? And they were so offended just by that comparison.
It's brave and bold and great that you're still there and trying to shore up against the tsunami. It's not a small group of people. I went to John Thomas Dye. A lot of the people also had one Jewish parent at least. And Patty Reagan went there also. The issue is for you to have hope, to stay in America, and to hope that there's some sort of redemption at hand, some sort of a way out of it. So I'm hard-pressed to imagine that there's a political way out of the situation. It's just not viable. People say here, commonly, the number of people who've interviewed from military think tanks here, IDSF and other such places, and they all say, yeah, we have to get rid of Hamas. And that was also one of the war aims. So it's not actually the problem. Hamas is just one tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is 2 billion people, 40% of whom, according to some authoritative sources, are pro-jihad. It's part of the Islamic religion. Fighting it with diplomacy, fighting it with politics, is very hopeful. It's very noble that you would even think that's a possibility. I'm hopeful. Are you hopeful? Do you feel realistically hopeful that if you were to get elected, are there others like you already in the Democratic Party?
You know, I think that there's a great problem in terms of image because we become so bipartisan. The algorithms are forcing everyone to take a side and then making that side more extreme. I think Jews typically have fallen in the 80% of the center, and now you have amplification of the 10% on the two extremes. And what's lacking in American politics, or at least in the Democratic side, is a confident pro-Israel voice. And that's what I aim to be. I aim to take on and push back against the misinformation, the indoctrination, the calculated efforts by the Qataris and others to cause us to divide. And if I can in some way, even symbolically, unite the pro-Israel community in this election, then that's what I'm hoping to do. So I'm not going to badmouth the president. I'm not going to get into Israeli politics. And I'm going to look at the Democrats who feel like they're in the desert, who feel like the Jewish American Democrats who are hiding during this time and who are contemplating leaving the party. I'm going to take as many Republicans as I can who understand my mission and independence. And if I can get elected, I'll be that guy who doesn't shirk, who is very confident, because I was born in Israel. My great-grandfather was a Zionist. He came from what is now Belarus, and they left in 1903. I ended up in London. And then my grandfather and his two brothers and mom were sent to what became Tel Aviv. They were the first families in Tel Aviv in 1910.
Oh, wow.
And Solomon Frankel, their father, worked with Stephen S. Weiss. He went to Toronto and Buffalo, New York, and raised money. They didn't see Israel. He arrived in a coffin and was buried in Israel after he died. That legacy has inspired me because now as a father and a husband, it's not just me anymore. I think there's a lot of people out there who are selfish and don't understand what it means to be a part of this community, to have a strong and safe Israel. I'm going to say that I was one of those people before I got married, before I had a kid, before October 7th. A lot of things happened that made it clear what I had to do.
It's a majority of the Republicans, I think, who are not pro-Hamas, because it's either pro-Hamas or pro-Israel. There's nothing in the middle. Do you know what percentage of currently of Democrats hold themselves to not be pro-Hamas?
I've seen various reports. It's the
17%.
questioning, because if you say pro-Hamas, you say pro-Palestine.
Just pretend it's black and white.
Yeah, it's got numbers in the 80s, very dismal and depressing numbers. And I think that's due to the fact that there isn't a strong Democrat for Israel right now. And if there is, they're hiding. And I'm running against somebody who has a great legislative record supporting Israel. But when you go to his town hall, everybody's there yelling that he's a genocide heir, and they're yelling about Palestine, and he's just shirking it off. And so we need to push back. We need to challenge every instance of anti-Semitism or libel against the Jewish community or defamatory remarks against Israel. A lot of facts have been twisted by entities like the Gaza Ministry of Health and Al Jazeera. There's so much misinformation and bad facts out there and data that you don't have anybody on the Democratic side really challenging that. And so you look at Hollywood, California, Los Angeles, where I'm from, people belong more to the tribe of being a Democrat than they do a Jew in many of those instances. And so without a strong voice supporting Israel, supporting common sense, because Israel is not one issue, it's a myriad of issues. Israel is about supporting women. Israel is open towards the LGBTQ community. Israel is about democracy. The other side of Israel is not where we want to be in the West. I'm constantly thinking about Karl Popper, who was a philosopher, I guess, in the 1940s.
And a Jew also, yeah.
And so he said that tolerating the intolerant will lead to the downfall of Western society. This is where wokeness ended up. Wokeness was a great idea. Let's be careful about how we treat people. Let's be conscious about that. And it warped into something which is very dangerous, which is let's allow people who hate us to come and live amongst us and control our society and the way we think. And it's being used against us in a very dangerous way. It's something that I'm scared about because I think about my child, my wife, and the future. And Jewish values are what America's about. American values are Jewish values. But jihad, Sharia law, and radical Islam is diametrically opposed to it and will use everything that it can in order to infiltrate us from within, as it's trying to do, and succeeding, perhaps. And so, I'm going to be very vocal about it if elected.
And when's the election again?
So the primary is in June 2nd, and if I'm in the top two, then I go off to the runoff in November, which is a part of the midterm primaries. And this is something that I think Trump and the administration are very concerned about, and that's why you saw this ceasefire and the return of the hostages now. The Republicans running in a lot of House races don't want to deal with the mess of Gaza in their races. The intention was to resolve it so that 2026 can be about other issues, which are more important and relevant to families that vote. Economic issues, of course, crime. And so that's also what I like to focus on.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit, about the homeless situation? And because that's also the kind of wisdom on the conventional wisdom is in the Republican side, is that homelessness is a democratic phenomenon. In democratic cities, that's where it's taken hold.
In Los Angeles, we have a Democratic mayor, Karen Bass. She took a victory lap this year for a 3% decrease in homelessness. And she didn't take into account that 2,500 people died on the streets.
How many people are on the streets?
I think it's around 180,000. It's three major groupings of people: the drug addicted, the mentally ill, and people who are priced out of the housing market in LA. I think we have the means and the resources to deal with those who are priced out of the housing market, but we don't have the means to coordinate the city to deal with the mentally ill and the drug addicted. And so you're seeing awful things that people don't want their kids to see. So you're seeing a flight from Los Angeles. Many families are moving to Agoura or Calabasas or even Burbank,
Austin or Florida,
or Texas or Florida, because they just don't want to see it. It's very disturbing. And as a Jew who's trying to run a campaign based on Jewish values, I think it's a humanitarian issue. We need to treat people well, and part of doing that is to take action. I've seen many encampments removed, but it takes a long time. I was on a conference call with a group from Encino, and they were talking to the deputy mayor who's in charge of the unhoused. They call it unhoused in LA. That's the politically correct term. There's an area in the valley called the Sepulveda Basin. It's one of the most beautiful preserves, but it sits on federal land. In 3 years, we're going to have 3 events in the Olympics there. The homeless have been living there for a long time. They've booby-trapped it. The LA Fire Department has sent people in there, and they've ended up in the hospital because it's dangerous to enter. The Palisades burnt to a crisp in January because of
arson.
It is arson. They found the guy. He was an Uber driver, and he was very upset and started the fire. This guy lit a fire in the middle of January. We had a very dry winter. And to me, that's the area where I'm running, where I have friends, where you grew up. Not everybody's a multimillionaire in Pacific Palisades, but these people lost their houses, and now the insurance companies aren't paying. The banks aren't helping.
I have a question about that. I had heard that the insurance company canceled insurance for a lot of places.
A lot of people can't get insured, or their rates have gone up tenfold in areas that are dangerous for fire. We live in an area, thankfully, that is flat and a little bit safer, but still insurance companies are fleeing California. There's very little competition, and it's tough to get insured. The guy I'm running against, he takes a lot of money from insurance companies and was on the banking committee, and so his interests are not really with the citizens and more with the people who've been donating to his campaign for the last 30 years.
Huh. Have you tried to speak to Sherman? He's a Democrat also.
Yes, he's a pro-Israel Democrat, and he's been very good legislatively towards Israel.
But you would have him be more vocal.
I think that's the problem. And the other problem is that this is going to be a 10-man race in the primary.
Wow.
And so whoever finishes second will be very threatening and might not be as strong for Israel. The goal is to finish second in this primary, because Brad Sherman does have a great track record and also great name recognition, and then allow for the voters to look at 2 candidates in the runoff and decide who would be their choice. The problem is we have entrenched Democrats, entrenched Republicans throughout the states. You have the beauty of American politics is that we will go from one extreme to the next extreme, and then over the course of time, we'll end up in the center. But when you get to cities and states that are pure blue, pure red, you get entrenched politicians. In Los Angeles, you have a mayor and a city council of people that are not up for it. The cost of removing one homeless person from the streets in LA is $900,000. So we have to find ways to innovate, reduce costs. They built a bathroom on Runyon Canyon, which is like a popular place to hike, and it cost them $1 million for one bathroom. You have inept and corrupt people running cities. And like I said, we've got the Olympics coming in 3 years. The entire world will be in Los Angeles. And we have a mayor that is not up for the task. We have 9 patrol cars in 33 square miles of the San Fernando Valley. The LAPD is not equipped to deal with burglaries. And so there's a burglary epidemic. And what they're advising communities of affluent people to do is to organize and find the same security patrol. And if enough neighbors get the same security patrol company, then they'll put a car. And the car will patrol the neighborhood, which is a deterrent, which the LAPD can't be. And this is a serious issue. One of the most formative years of my life, 1983, I was in 3rd grade, and my father's a film producer, and he made the movie Sheena in Kenya. He and my mom were on set, and they put me with my aunt and uncle and my 3 cousins, which is near the airport.
Okay.
And I was so free. I could come home at any time, play soccer. It was a different world to be growing up in. And that's my Hebrew's basically from that year, and my connection to Israel is from that year. But going back to LA, it was, you had to make an appointment for a play date and a lot of...
It just, as speaking to you, unfortunately, it sounds like America is just like in Noah's time. It's at least these big cities. I don't know about the whole Republican areas, but these Democratic strongholds seem like they're underwater already and sinking fast. And with their embrace of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism and their terror of Islamophobia, their terror of being afraid of people who are trying to kill them and who would like to overthrow their population, it's hard hope. I don't know how you feel about that, but it just seems like a no-brainer that now Mamdani is going to be the mayor.
Yeah, we'll find out in 5 days if he gets elected. But I think I wasn't a Second Amendment guy. I didn't believe in guns, but I'm going to be purchasing a weapon to protect my family when I get back. My wife here in Israel feels very safe because everywhere you go, you see with an M16 exposure. And that's something really beautiful about Israel is that they're on the forefront of dealing with trauma. And one of the ways that they deal with trauma here is by dealing with it head on. It's in many cultures in the past, we would sweep things under the rug. And I think that's very dangerous. Just being very direct about things and having empathy and understanding what the person's going through, sure, to feel safe is very important. But when you avoid the truth or the trauma that happened, the circumstances that created the trauma, you can make that matter worse. And so I see my family, my friends here in Israel who have been through so much. And a lot of the last 2 years have been triggers for stuff that happened before. And so you're seeing a lot of good work being done in mental health to keep people going. And everybody reacts differently. And I'm very proud of everybody who's been so resilient. I would love to meet anybody who is interested in helping to elect the first Israeli-born member of Congress. And I have a lot of room in my heart and a lot of room in my day to make new friends, because Lord knows I've lost a lot of old friends in supporting Israel. And for being Israeli, and for being Jewish. And
for being genocidal and colonialist and apartheid.
We're none of those things.
I know. That's what,
and you know what?
I'm saying it all ironically.
No, but it's just, this war, I think it's very Jewish to look at the bright side of things instead of always the bad.
Both sides, yeah.
And although the circumstances from the last 2 years have been awful, a lot of good has come from it. The people who have found community, the people who have found pride in our own history. I didn't know. I was very ignorant. I grew up in a time where I was promised that there would never be any war. And I think our culture was hopeful. My grandfather's name was Shalom. I think we're a peace-wanting and a peace-loving people. And the very notion that Jewish people will defend themselves, the very notion that Jewish people will want to live in their ancestral home, we're a few blocks from Judea. It's incredible just to be here and to be proud to see that flag and Magen David in a city that is thousands of years old and has always been Jewish. And the threat of that, losing that, it should motivate people to act. And it's done that for me.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a quick comment to help us keep the conversations going.